touch this. You can't touch this.
Mr. Wonderful.
You can't touch this.
Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, making his way up to the ring here at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. Captain Lou Albano. Talk about some of those competitors in the elimination tournament and who's going to be a favorite. We've mentioned Bam Bam in the prior weeks and Lee Brian Blair. What about Mr. Wonderful's champion?
Well, we talk about Mr. Wonderful being one of the greatest competitors in Universal Wrestling or throughout the wrestling world. I know the man well. I've known him for some, I would say 12 years now. He's been into professional wrestling, a former pro football player. The man is a great athlete, looks in great physical condition. I noticed he's been doing a lot of commercials lately for health foods and so forth. Paul is one of the top contenders along with Steve Williams, Bam Bam Bigelow. Paul is a very, very great athlete, and I can wish him nothing but the best of luck. He's a credit to wrestling and a credit to his manhood and everything else.
Just to remind you, as the elimination tournament continues here in the UWF, the pinnacle, of course, would be the crowning of the Sports Channel television champion. That is the build-up for the elimination tournament, and in the end, after the 16 men are eliminated, 2 will be in the ring, and will be competing on Sunday, June the 9th on pay-per-view at 7 o'clock around the country. Call your local cable system. We'll have more information throughout this program in the coming weeks about the big pay-per-view event coming up. Meanwhile, a series of arm drags, hip tosses by Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff on Rico Federico, who wisely decides to get out of the ring.
Did you notice them arm drags? I mean, the way that were executed by Paul Orndorff, and the other fellow's in good condition, too. He was able to rerun right from that, right back up again. You see the way he bounced right out of that ring? You take an arm drag, and I've got to tell you, Greg, that can be devastating at times. If you land the wrong way, or if you're not in the right, as you move over, and you're not able to take that fall properly, you can break a shoulder blade. Anything can happen. Well, this fellow was right up there. He's well-conditioned. He moved well. He got right back up again. And he's back in the ring.
And you can see from that shot that we were in the backdrop of the Nickelodeon set here at Universal Studios, which, by the way, Lou, do you know this is the largest television studio in the world outside of Hollywood, California?
I'm glad you pointed it out to me, because I heard that rumor. I didn't know if it was true or not, but now that you say it, Greg, I know it can only be true.
Yeah, there's a good shot of Universal Studios and over 444 acres of motion pictures here. They have production facilities, sound stages. King Kong is here, your friend.
The whole best.
Earthquake.
Is it true what they said there, Greg, that you sold the property to Universal to build the studio? No, that's what I hear through the grapevine, that you're a very wealthy person. I'm glad to be sitting alongside you. At least I know you're not going to borrow any money from me. It's wonderful to be with you, Greg DeGeorge. You're a legend in the field of broadcasting. In fact, I want to negotiate your next deal with Herb Abrams and the Universal Wrestling Federation, because I feel together, as a combined effort, we're unbeatable.
Well, at least we think that way. Huh?
There we go.
Good small package by Mr. Wonderful, but he can't put him away.
No, he reminds you of a cat in that ring. The way Paul moves around, he's got that leper, kind of like you know how a leper stalks? He moves around. And look at the condition of the man. He's lean. He had dropped, I think, about 15 pounds from his former weight. Paul was down, I guess, around 240, 248, rather. They announced him at 250. Give or take 2 pounds. He might lose 4 or 5 pounds in a match. Yeah, but
I understand, Captain Lou, there's a fellow who weighs 13,000 pounds here on the ground somewhere, and he's 35 feet tall.
No kidding.
Now, I thought he might...
Is he a hairy kind of...
I heard Herb Abrams was trying to negotiate something with him.
Is he a hairy type fella?
Yes, he is.
Yes, does he shave often?
I don't think he shaves. His name is King Kong. Herb didn't know that. He kind of found out about that after he heard about how tall the guy was. He thought he might be a good connection here in the UWF.
I saw him some years back in New York City on top of the Empire State Building. Is that the same fella?
Man, yeah.
There you go with the K-Fay or Fay Long or Fay One. Oh, yeah, here it goes. This can be one of the most devastating moves in the field of professional wrestling. This can render a man helpless for life. It broke the neck of Bruno Sammartino with Stan Hansen. This is what can do it to you. I'll tell you what I would do. I'll tell you, you can call me gutless or whatever you want, but I'd rather be a live coward and live to fight another day and be here today. But I'd run out of the ring if a man put me into that. That's unbelievable. All right, I'm going to get Paul over here. We're going to interview Paul Orndorff. Oh, he's going to interview Paul Orndorff. We're not going to interview. Well, I was going to interview him, but if I didn't want me to interview him, I won't interview him.
Guess what's coming up next, folks?
With Paul Orndorff here. Paul, certainly one of the challengers for the first ever UWF Sports Channel television champion. Coming up, Beach Brawl at the Manatee Civic Center in Palmetto. Paul, a little tune-up here.
Well, I wouldn't say that. He's a fine athlete. Knows how to wrestle. He's just a little bit green, and he's got to take his beatings, like we all did. But I'm looking forward to that tournament. A lot of good competition. It could be anybody's. It could go Brian Blair, Volkov. It could go anywhere. Orton, myself, Dr. Death. So it's going to be quite interesting. It's not it's one of those type of things where it's just good talent from top to bottom. And I'm looking forward to it.
Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, certainly a fan favorite here in Florida. Looking forward to returning. Remember, it's June 9th at the Manatee Civic Center. And those of you outside of that area, you can only get it on a pay-per-view basis. So you must call your cable company or call